Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You,
I can't expect everybody to speak my language, and so let me learn those languages, and then kind of out of that came the goal. More or less out of the fun. I didn't tell anybody about that for a long time, but really to be able to speak the world's most important languages, because English only gets you so far.
Hi, I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter, your inspirational leader and host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Bookophelia, Patois Apparel, and the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And now, let's go to today's episode. At 25 years old, today's guest heads Ajala Digital, a global boutique marketing agency focused on Google and Facebook advertising for businesses. Her company is a full Google partner with all certifications and takes care of clients from Hawaii to Australia. Her travels to 70 countries have given her a better understanding of people from around the world, which helps her create individual strategies for each client, no matter where they're based. In 2017, she was honored as one of Forbes 30 under 30 list makers for Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Featured on media outlets such as ABC News, Yahoo, Mashable, MSN, The Washington Times, and more, and now on the Entrepreneurial You podcast, I am super happy to welcome Pamela Wagner to the Entrepreneurial You. Welcome, Pamela.
Thank you so much. I'm super honored to be in your podcast.
Awesome, and I'm excited to speak with you. Now, we met when you were in Jamaica a while ago, and I'm sure you picked up some Jamaican slangs. You want to tell us one that you picked up?
Wagwan.
Oh, you chicken out on me. That's so easy, so easy. But that's okay. That works.
I'm getting there. I'm still practicing. I'm getting there.
All right. Okay. I can give you some patois lessons, right? You know, I have patois apparel.
Please, yes.
Awesome. All right. So you're quite an accomplished young lady. You're just 25 years old, right? But before we delve into your area of expertise, we're going to touch a little on your growing up in Austria and some of your achievements. What was growing up like for you, Pamela?
I would say I had a pretty, what one would call average childhood. My parents both worked in normal jobs, and none had a company or had accrued a lot of financial wealth. What was a bit different was that pretty early onwards, when I was about to enter school, I was already able to read and calculate and write also a bit. So I was a bit ahead of other kids, and so my school in the end shortened to be only 10 years instead of the normal 12 or 13 years in Austria. And that came with its very own challenges.
Such as?
Oh, I mean, if you're for 10 years, the youngest kid in school, in class, and you always enjoy going to school while the others don't. And I always loved learning, so I was the nerd in the class. And so I was bullied a lot. I didn't really have friends until I got into university. And so I had a lot of time on my own, which in hindsight was very good. I got to work a lot on myself. That also actually led me to really being very careful about selecting my friends, because I didn't just get automatically into having friends, but later on, I got to choose my friends. And I think that's a very important part that a lot of people in nowadays life just miss. They're oh, these are the people I have around me, and they kind of tolerate too much without really choosing what they want in their life.
Wow, well, that's an important lesson. And I mean, while some persons would have, you obviously use that lemon to make a lovely glass of refreshing lemonade, standing out, right? But as a matter of fact, you were not born to fit in, so you stood out. You recognized that from an early age, and so that's an important lesson for us all to understand that it's not about fitting in, really. It's about recognizing your difference and appreciating your difference, because we all have areas of differences and we need to appreciate that. And importantly too, Pamela, you did mention about choosing your friends, and you got to choose your friend. And so we have to be protective of our space. But tell us a little about that, because I know you feel strongly about that, protecting the space and all of that.
So, I mean, I tend to engage with highly accomplished individuals in the sense of like where you would measure accomplishments and like financial success. And they often tend to have a lot of stress with people around them, or they're coping with behavior of other people that actually they wouldn't need to, but because they feel like they have a responsibility, or because they feel like other people wouldn't be able to do it on their own. But in the process of that, they completely forget themselves. They completely lose themselves. They give up stuff that they would need to do in order to take care of themselves. And that alone really can be a very destructive behavior, and also it's not really useful for yourself, because the thing is, you only going to be truly happy when you can be yourself among your friends, and if those so-called friends do not accept who you are, then they're just not the right people to be around with. So the goal is really to surround yourself with people that support you in everything you do.
Mm-hmm. We're going to move into now some of your accomplishments, right? Because I wanted to establish the fact that you're very solid in your thought processes and what you hold to, and the things that will make you successful. And I'm a person who loves accents. Let me just say that I love accents, right? And I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you, and you don't sound like somebody who grew up in Austria. To be honest, I don't hear that thick accent, right? And your bio tells me all about the different languages that you speak. Why you even bother learning all these things? What's the point, Pamela? Why did you learn all these? Yeah, tell us all the languages that you speak and so on. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up only with speaking German. So my parents are Austrian. My grandparents are Austrian, as long as I can track back my family. So. And I kind of very early onwards, I was always bothered by not being able to understand people. And so I was like, well, I can't expect everybody to speak my language. And so let me learn those languages. And then kind of out of that came the goal, more or less out of the fun. I didn't tell anybody about that for a long time, but really to be able to speak the world's most important languages, because English only gets you so far. And then that also turned into me actually being able to get to know other cultures better by being able to speak their languages. So, for example, when you speak Chinese, you understand a lot more about why Chinese people are the way they are, why the culture is the way they are, why they run the business the way they do. And that then also leads to just being able to connect people and give them a more accurate view of the world than is often presented in the TV.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, something that you've said, and language, once you can speak a language, you understand. There's something about a language, and even as you say that, because I'm very passionate about our very own language, which some people don't recognize. And when I speak about our language, I'm talking Jamaican. I'm not talking broken English, because a lot of people, we're still a classist society here in Jamaica, and we see language as when people speak Jamaican, you're not looked on the same way as somebody who speaks English, right? And I tell people all the time that I'm very bilingual, because I speak English very well, but I also chat patois very well, yeah? So I'm bilingual, and it gets me, code switch, as it were. I'm able to switch. I can go anywhere, in Trenchtown, where you name it, wherever. And I speak the people's language, and I find, and you rightfully say, that when you're able to speak somebody's language, you understand better, and you're able to communicate, not just by on on the surface, on a outward level, but you get deep because the language is truly the representation of a people, you know? And so you touch on something that is very dear to my heart. I mean, that's not what the interview is about, but, we're touching on that and it's important. So some of the languages, tell us all the languages that you speak. How many language?
So German, English, Spanish, French, Russian, Mandarin, and then I am in a constant process of learning Arabic and Swahili. And when I was in Nigeria, when I was living there in Niger, I also learned the what they call it broken English, the pidgin English. So it's kind of similar. It gave me a good basis for the Jamaican one. And it's really interesting because, like, when through being able to first of all spot Nigerians and then speak to them with broken English, like, to start off with that. First of all, it brings a smile to their face, and secondly, it's an automatic connection, and like you're able to tell the story and you're able to get to know people.
Mm-hmm. Amazing stuff. Amazing. No wonder you were recognized as a Forbes 30 under 30. Tell us about that recognition. How did that come about, and what has that done for you?
That question always gets me to laugh a bit. I have to say that it was a goal of mine, because so after I worked at Google, which was nice and everything, but there was like, once you get to start your own business, there is not so much recognition out there. Like, it's just like, oh, like, you earned this much money or something. But for me, it was like this broader recognition important. And what that meant for me is that I had achieved a certain level of success, and it also would open up to me a network of amazing, bright young individuals that are all just really also trying to get the most of life and have a really good impact in the world. And so I attended, so 2016 in April, I applied for the Forbes 30 under 30 summit for EMEA, which takes place in Israel, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And usually that summit is only for people that already made the list, but they have a very small number of people that they would also accept from applications. And so I applied and I got accepted and I went there. It was all amazing. I was like, yes, for the next time, the next time they have applications out, which is like December or so, I'm going to apply. And then I kept checking. And then suddenly it was December and it was like, oh, the list for next year is out. And I was like, oh, damn it, I've missed it. So I was like, okay, you got to go again to the summit. So I went again to the summit in 2017, April. And I mean, in the meanwhile, between it, already amazing collaborations had happened. I'd helped the reporter from Forbes write an article on Aiken and his business in Africa and so on. Made collaborations with the people there. And then so the summit last year really gave me a completely different experience and another even closer connection with the people. And then one of the editors of Forbes Austria, Germany, and Switzerland approached me and was like, hey, let's go for a coffee, like after the conference. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so we went for a coffee, we had a chat, really amazing young woman too. And like just about 45 minutes into the conversation, he was like, oh, and by the way, we're going to take you on the under 30 list. And I was like, whoa, like, what? Like, in my head, that was in my head, and like on the outside, you know, when you're just trying to look cool.
Yes.
But in my head, I was like dancing up and down. So yeah, that's the story. Like, there was quite some work behind it, of course, in investments, but it all paid off.
Interesting. So you were very intentional from the get-go, is what I'm getting from this conversation.
Yes. Like, I visualized my picture in the Forbes magazine.
Wow. And talk about the power of visualization, because that's one of the things, you know, as a matter of fact, before, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. What are some of the things that you believe that are, you know, attributable to your success?
About... it's soon 5 years ago. Well, let's say 4.5 years ago. I got introduced to like meditation and all, like, everything around it, also visualization, and that completely changed my life and explained a lot of things that I was able to do earlier on in life, but that really gave a name to a methodology. And so really what I believe in is, on the one hand, whatever you want to achieve, visualize it. And visualize it with positive words. So the second thing would be the language you use. It's incredibly important to say, for example, it's easy for me to learn math instead of, I'm so bad at math. Because the thing is, your brain is going to focus on what you tell it. And if you say, I'm so bad at math, your brain is going to focus on showing you signs that you're bad at math. And so the easiest way to achieve anything you want, to change behavior or have impact of some sort, is to really take care of your language. And then also really just be good to people and just be genuinely interested in them. Nobody really wants you bad in the first place. Anybody that does you bad usually only does so because of their own personal pain. And once you understand that, you're able to converse with people on a completely different level.
Well, and visualization and all those things, because I've been reading upon you, All right. So one last question which you didn't get into on this segment is, how has that accomplishment of being Forbes under 30 changed your life in any way, if any?
It changed a lot. It has, funnily enough, about 2 months after that, I had a huge PR. I had huge PR in Austria. I was in all the major news outlets. I got invited to radio shows. Just 2 weeks ago, I was in a TV show with the director of Spartacus, the movie, who's actually Austrian. Of course, business opportunities keep coming along. I can engage with the people from the Forbes list of the different countries, which are amazing minds and brains. And it's kind of like a certificate. It adds credibility, you can say, in the first place, for somebody who doesn't know you. Yeah, I'm sure it does. I mean, it's Forbes, yeah? So, all right. So, quite an amazing young lady you are. Quite an amazing and accomplished. We're going to take a break right here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about your journey as an entrepreneur, what is you're doing now, and how you're helping clients to win, and give us some tips as well. So, we have a lot to catch up on when we get back. So, let's take a break.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mafood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Success is something that we gradually work towards as an end goal, but we need to be in the right environment to make it happen. Bookophilia is dedicated to providing a space for book, coffee and tea lovers, creatives, educators, students, and professionals who want ideas, innovation, and inspiration. They have a variety of high-quality books, a cafe, events such as book launches, signings, and art exhibitions, and professional services uniquely tailored to your needs, culture, and tastes. Their environment provides for the full literary arts experience, allowing for multifaceted creative expressions. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Bookophilia. Do you want to see the world filled with better leaders? Filling the world with leaders worth following starts with you, and you can be that leader in your company, organization, or community. On May 4, 2018, join more than 100,000 leaders from around the globe at the world's largest leadership event, LeaderCast Live. Broadcast live from Atlanta to a community near you, LeaderCast Live will allow you to learn from leaders like Andy Stanley, Michael Hyatt, and Dr. Jim Lur. For more information on this can't miss event, visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com and click on LeaderCast Kingston and invest in the future of your career, your organization, your community, and your world. Welcome back, and we've been talking with Pamela Wagner. She is the lady behind Ajala Digital, and she's, of course, we talked about her accomplishment. It has been many, but one of the ones we've been highlighting is her being on the list of Forbes 30 under 30 for the region of Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Now we're coming back and we're going through now. Pamela, you're going to talk us through how did you get started as an entrepreneur and what it is that you're actually doing now.
Yeah, sure. So once I left Google, it was the first time in my life where I could really decide on what I wanted to do now, because there were no course requirements to be met. I didn't have to be somewhere at a certain place, and I didn't have to listen to a boss telling me things to do that I eventually didn't want to do, or, didn't really understand the reason why. And so I took that opportunity and I booked flights across the Middle East, North and Central America, and what some would say is a self-discovery, but for me it was really the first time I wanted to see, are people going to pay me for my skills actually outside of the corporate environment? And I had done a few gigs before. It was like translating or organizing events, so I had a little bit of experience of, okay, this is like the world of charging money for your skills. And so I started off with registering on a platform. It's called Upwork.com as a normal freelancer and applying for projects there. And also, as soon as my own network knew that I was out of Google, it almost seemed like they were waiting for me to get out of Google so that I could work with them. It was very, very fascinating. And so that's kind of how the first projects came to be. And about 3 to 4 months after I left Google, I had made in a month more than I had made in a month at Google. And so I was like, this is working. So I made it to this amount of money. Now it's just about how to scale it. And that's really how I got started.
Interesting. And how long ago was that?
That was by now 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago. And also...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and also to answer your question about how I got into what I'm doing today. So, I mean, when I left Google, I gained all this amazing knowledge of like advertising through Google and then using Google Analytics for data analysis and so on. And I'd also worked with Facebook ads a bit before. And so I was like, well, let me use that knowledge and actually build on it instead of just throwing it away. And with that came also the decision for me to be more of like a boutique style and niche agency that is specialized in one or two things instead of being a one-stop shop for everything where I only do each thing like 10%.
Okay, so it's about focus for you. And now let's delve into Google advertising in particular. What are some of the things that we must know? That's what we want to go into. We want to ask you to share tips and best practices with us. What are some of the things that we must know when we're thinking about Google advertising?
Sure. So I think first of all, it's important to know that anybody can sign up on Google and create their own ads, but it's not for everybody. Because in order to get started on Google Ads and to actually be able to scale your business, it is super, super important to have clarity on your business. Like, how are you making money? Are you, if you're a coach or whatever, and you're at, 30 euros an hour, and you're spending on Google like 1,000 euros per month, well, then you need to get that in again in hours. But then that business model might not yet be ready for that kind of advertising. So maybe you should start off on like Instagram first, or do influencer marketing, or podcasts, or other channels. So it's really about getting clarity of where you are in the business and what you need to get to the next level. So some of my clients, or some of the people that approach me, I tend to send them back to coaches that help them figure out their pricing. Some of them, I connect them with a business partner who is very good at branding, because they just first need to figure out what's their brand message, what are they actually standing for, and who are they serving. And then I think it's also important to know that Google Ads is something that takes a bit of time to figure out. So I usually start off with my clients on a quarterly collaboration basis. So 3 months where we're working closely together on the one hand to figure out, A, is this a channel that actually is worth for you investing in further? And B, is this something that actually adds to your marketing, to your whole marketing a mix? And are we a good fit?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so once you've been at that stage, so a business. Okay, first of all, what size businesses do you specialize in, and industries?
So the way I go about choosing my clients is really more about a little bit where they are and who they are. So what's important for me is that they themselves are not too stressed out, because you sometimes get those clients that like they had bad experiences before, and so they tell you what to do, or they cannot really manage their boss's stress that's put on them, and then they just put it on you, even though it doesn't make sense. But because they don't really have time to think about it, that's just who they are, or how they work. And so I don't want that. Like, I don't put up with that stress. That's not something that's in my responsibility. Then the size of my clients, preferably they start off with an ad spend of a minimum of $5,000 per month. I have some that started off with 1,000, 1,500, and then we grew them pretty healthily. In terms of industries, any business that does good. So I wouldn't work with a tobacco company, with alcohol companies. I work, for example, with a luxury hotel in Austria. I worked with a flower delivery shop in Dubai. I have a fitness center in San Diego, a cryptocurrency company, just to throw that in with the trend here. A makeup company, a relationship coach. So it's really a good mixture.
All right. And at what point do they come to you? So they've had to, I'm just trying to get clear. They have to have clarity who they are, because you also are very clear on who it is that you are targeting as clients. So they must be very clear where they are and pretty much what they want to accomplish. Your goal is therefore to help them accomplish that.
Yeah, so there are pretty much two types. The one type is the person that has figured out a business model. They're working, they're getting money in, they're getting revenue in, they're at a solid stage, and they haven't worked with ads yet, but now they're ready to scale. And they want to give this a shot and try this out, or have already decided that this is a clear part of their marketing funnel. So that's the one. And the second one are companies who have worked with agencies before, or with marketing companies before, but they are just super unhappy about the results. We're just wasting money, and just want a reliable partner that can really also talk openly and very transparent about this topic and how to best use it for their own business success.
And so you talked about earlier that ideally you start your clients off at $5,000 per month, and sometimes $1,500 and so. But across the board, when you think about not necessarily just for your clients, but across the board, what is a basic minimum requirement that you would recommend for persons who want to use Google Ads as an option?
That's a good question. So it depends a bit on the cost per click, because in Google you usually pay per click. And so sometimes a click could cost only like a couple of cents, like 4 or 5 cents. And sometimes a click could cost $20, $25. So in most industries, the click average is around like $1, $2, $3. And so the way one really can calculate this is, okay, so if I get, let's say, 10 clicks a day at $1, then I spend about $10 a day in a month. That makes about $300. So for $300, I would get 300 clicks. Now, out of those 300 clicks, how many people do I convert on average? So, for example, for a good e-commerce website, one says a 1 to 2% conversion rate is good. So we would say out of those 300 clicks, let's say 1% converts, which means we would have three buyers. Yeah, 3 clients. And so if you're an e-commerce company, for example, and you sell jewelry at an average of $20 and you only get 3 clients, you get $60, but you spend $300. That's a definite loss. So if you sell like really high-end jewelry, then that may pay off. Then it also depends on the type of strategy that you use in terms of only like search ads, or if you use remarketing or video ads. So the whole mix is super, super important. And then basically figuring out what's the right mix and then scaling that.
And your final thoughts on advertising, because you not only do Google, you do Facebook as well, right?
Yes.
Right. So your final thoughts on advertising online in general as we wrap up.
It's gonna be a very interesting landscape in the coming months and years, not just because of AI, but also because of data protection laws. I think it's super important for advertisers to always keep in mind what's ethical and what am I willing to do in order to get attention? Because unfortunately, a lot of times, we just had a case now with H&M where they used a black kid with a sweater. And I have a feeling that was on purpose, that they actually wanted to get attention. And I don't think that's an ethical way to get attention. So I really urge advertisers to really clearly think about that, like that frame, and to come up with new creative ways that are positive advertising.
It has been an amazing journey, conversation we've had. Amazing, almost 30 minutes. And my peak performers, we've been talking with Pamela Wagner, and her company is Ajala Digital. And she's left some insights with us. We had a first half of the conversation. We talked about language and mindset and all of those things. Very important, on our route to success. Pamela, you did mention to me earlier in our pre-interview chat that you have a freebie to give away. So go right ahead and share that with our peak performers.
Absolutely. So you are more than welcome to go to www.ajaladigital.com/apply-now, which is where you can schedule a free strategy call with me, which takes about 45 minutes. And we will talk strategy on your ads, whether that is something that would be an opportunity for you. And if it's something you're already doing, we'll talk about how we can actually enhance it and create super clear steps with you during that time.
Okay. And while you share, thank you so much. You share that. And also you can share your other social media platform and other areas that we can get in touch with you.
Oh, yeah, sure. So the most active one I'm on currently is Instagram, where you can actually find me with _Pam _world. So it's just do a and then Pam. So the first part of my name, _world. There's a whole other story behind that name, but it's basically about traveling the world.
Oh, okay. All right. And I also saw that you have Pamela Wagner, that .marketing as well.
Yes. So currently, Ajala Digital also leads back to Pamela Wagner .marketing. And because my name is in general in the English-speaking world not that easy to pronounce, it's sometimes easy to just use my company homepage name.
Right. So either one, we get in touch with you. Once again, I want to thank you so much, Pamela, for being such lively, guest. You have spoken, shared your insights and shared some tips with us. And it's a pleasure. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. And I wish you every success as you continue on your onward journey.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It was so much fun. And I hope that the listeners got a lot of value out of it.
They sure will.
What do you know? We have come to the end of another great episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I trust that you learned something and that something resonated with you so that you can share with others. And speaking of sharing, I'd so love for you to leave a comment on the show notes page of each episode. Well, we're talking about this one in particular. Leave a comment at the end of the page so that when you go the topic, you click down. And at the end, there is an option there for you to comment. If you're accessing through iTunes, then by all means, I'd love for you to leave a rate and review. That will keep us as a top-rated podcast. It means a lot to me for you to help me out in this way, right? I know you are listening from all over the world, and I so appreciate it, from Japan to Germany to India to Pakistan, everywhere in the Caribbean, in the United States, in Jamaica in particular. Big up my Jamaican peeps. Big up those, of course, in Ohio and all those other states that persons are listening in from, that you are listening in from. I so truly appreciate you. Now, if you want to reach out to me personally, you can actually send me an email, send it to Heneka Watkis-Porter at gmail.com. I am truly looking forward to connecting with you. If you want to send me a voicemail too, you can do that through my website. Just go to the middle at the right of the screen. There is an option for voicemail when you go to HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. I do want to hear from you. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Walk good.